Welcome to Nava Academy. Photoshop course. Adobe Photoshop for beginners. Module Learning Outcomes. Having completed this module, you will be able to identify the purpose of each panel in Photoshop. Explain how to import objects into the Photoshop library. Describe the importance of layers and their positioning in a Photoshop project. Outline the different ways to choose colors and the process to add new custom colors to color swatches. Distinguish between the different types of layer locks in Photoshop. List the various selection, cropping, and text tools. Recall the various healing tools and their functions. Explain the process of creating simple animations in Photoshop. Module 1. Introduction to Photoshop. Hello and welcome to this Photoshop course. In this course, you're going to learn about one of Adobe's greatest programs, which is Photoshop. You've probably heard a lot about it on social media. Maybe you've seen some photo manipulation on some posters and cards. And Photoshop is a program that you can basically create anything with, so there's no limit to whether it's a photo, whether it's an animation, an illustration, or a logo. Photoshop our allies to create all of that in just one program. Now it's not a simple program. As you would expect, it will take a little time for you guys to learn how to work with it, but in this course, we're going to go over on how to create certain things, and that way we get to learn how to use Photoshop. Now, like other programs, where you would learn each of these tools and learning each of these tabs. Personally, I don't think that's a good way to learn Photoshop, because there's just so much to learn, and in order to memorize all of that you would, I get really confused and bothered. So, the best way to learn Photoshop is through practice, and that's what we're going to do in this course. So instead of me telling you what this tool, which are going to see if we are going to make a poster, you will learn how to use the following tools while applying those tools to make a poster. So, that's what we're going to learn in this course. I hope you guys will be able to pick a lot of things in this course, and you would be able to create your own amazing works, share them online, maybe teach them to friends and families, and just knowing Photoshop on its own is a big flex now. Nowadays, the minimum requirements for most jobs is knowing Photoshop, and again, there is no limit to it. So you could be working as an illustrator, as a photo editor, and animator. All these things mostly have a minimum requirement of knowing Photoshop. So, if you know Photoshop, and you have already passed as minimum requirements, and you would have an easier time getting jobs, getting projects, being able to create your own things. Now these images that you see right now, they're looking really surreal. It looks really real, but also really fake at the same time. This is just a few of the examples of what you can do in Photoshop. You can actually composite a work of art with this program. And you can see that we got a human subject, but we have something that does not look like you would be able to picture it in real life. And we're like this, for example, maybe some of this, and there's a wide variety of things that you can do that. If you look up here, the most famous thing you could do it. Photoshop is one, create compositions, such as this, and to manipulate images. So now that we're in the Composites tab, you can see all of these things, and what that means, that each of these images, like let's go in here, there are made of so many layers, and so many adjustments, and you might look like it took maybe a paintbrush and some colors, but these are actually different images, combined with adjustments, to make it look like a natural realistic image, or like this one. These works usually take hours, and sometimes days, but the end results are amazing, and they're really great for your portfolio. We got some simple stuff here, or you just take the subject, and put a custom backgrounds. Here's another one. And this is just one example that you can do. You can create baby superhero. Thank this girl over here, superhero composites. Maybe a dystopian one, a dog playing sports. Or, kids fishing in the house. You know, all of these amazing works can be done with Photoshop, and I'm sure that after this course, with a little bit of practice, you will be able to do the same. Let's go back, and there was another thing that I wanted to show. Let's search Photoshop manipulation paradise. Now, as the word says, Photoshop manipulations, where you would take a normal image and he would manipulate it into a form of art, or a really surreal image, like this one right here. Here we have a turtle with a shark inside and a castle on top. And, whether the images are yours or not, you can create all of these works like this one. It looks really real, but it's just a Photoshop manipulation. That apart from photos, you can also do some graphic design work. Let's have a look again. Push up gives you a lot of options over textures, colors, maybe some 3D, work tags, and so much more that we will do, but Photoshop is not used for graphic design. But if you want to take graphic design a step further, you would use Adobe Illustrator. In fact, Illustrator came before Photoshop. But a lot of people, myself included, I use Photoshop for my graphic design work because you have more control over shadowing mockups. If you want to, maybe, put your package design on our package, like a wide package. Photoshop is a better place for that, but you would utilize Illustrator to create illustrations. Such as the Illustrator makes it a lot simpler to work, which shapes compared to Photoshop, and it doesn't have those layers, so things wouldn't be looking like this murders, like thousands of layers, and it gets confusing. That's what they use Illustrator for, illustrations, maybe logos in Photoshop, for maybe package design of photo manipulation, texturing and all that. So, now we know what we can create with Photoshop. Let's also do a little. I'll show you guys the posters as well. There are most posters, almost all posters are made on Photoshop, because again, you have control over the image. Well, this is, there we go, the image, you got the shape, you got the shadows, the textures here. We have another one. You can also put text, and you can bring it all together to create amazing posters, maybe for your school, your work, a family event, and birthday party. And there we are, and I could just go on with the examples of what you can make with Photoshop, but we will learn those throughout the course, so without further ado, let's get started.